I recently discovered something that changed everything I thought I knew about myself. For 12 years, I've been running ultramarathons, crossing deserts, pushing through 100-mile races, never really wondering how my mind could focus so intensely on a trail while struggling to complete simple tasks at home. Then my therapist posed a question that unlocked it all. Have you ever considered you might have ADHD? What I thought was just my quirky, restless energy was actually neurodivergence. And those long runs where everything became crystal clear, where I could hyper-focus for hours while the world around me grew more vibrant. That wasn't despite ADHD. That was because of it. Today, I want to share how understanding my brain transformed running from an escape into a superpower, and how motion creates the clarity I've been chasing my whole life. Looking back now, the signs were everywhere. In elementary school, I was placed in what they called the challenge class, or the gifted class. There were maybe 8 of us kids total. We were encouraged to follow our passions for weeks at a time instead of a more traditional curriculum. I remember setting up a little news desk every day, pretending to be an anchorman, diving deep into the fantasy for weeks at a time. Back then, I thought I was just creative. Now I see it was my ADHD brain craving novelty and hyper-focus. The pattern continued into adulthood in ways that should have been obvious. I'd start jobs and walk away after days. I'd literally turn around on my first morning and go home because the work felt overwhelming, too tedious, or boring. One job lasted exactly 4.5 days. On my first Thursday, I went out to lunch and never went back into the office. Another, I lasted maybe a week. That week, I'd sit in my car during lunches, feel this crushing sense of dread about tasks that seemed impossibly complex, crunching numbers for an international bank, bored out of my mind, not interested in the tasks, and then I just left. It wasn't for me. But then there was the other side, the hyper-focus that could consume me for days. I'd avoid starting a new video editing project for weeks, sometimes months, procrastinating until the overwhelm felt unbearable. But once I finally began, I wouldn't leave the computer for 3, sometimes 5 days straight. I'd edit through the night, forget to eat, completely lose track of time. I thought that was just how my brain worked. Either complete avoidance or total obsession. The procrastination hyper-focus cycle defined my pre-running life. Big dreams, grand visions, but this invisible barrier between intention and action. I'd beat myself up constantly. Why can't I just start? Why is this so hard? The internal dialogue was brutal. A vicious cycle of shame, procrastination, and more shame. Then came the first day on the treadmill. In that period of my life, I'd been doing a lot of spin classes, but I joined a new gym. I felt this urge to try something new. That first day was 10 minutes of running. I didn't love it, but I told myself this: 7 days. If I hate it after a week, I'll find something else. I don't remember making the decision to continue on. I just kept going. And within months, I'd completed the LA Marathon. What I didn't realize is that I stumbled upon the perfect ADHD management system. Every morning, that run became my anchor. The repetitive foot strikes created a meditative rhythm that settled my scattered thoughts. For the first time in my life, I had sustained, intentional focus. The contrast was striking. While I struggled to focus on paperwork or simple tasks, I could run for hours in a complete flow state. I remember during a 10-day run across California, 300 miles from Huntington Beach to Arizona, saying this felt like a running retreat. I could do this every day. What I meant was, I could live in this state of intentional focus every day. I'd found something that didn't just manage my symptoms, it transformed them into a superpower. Running became my unconscious ADHD therapy. That early morning run would set the trajectory of my entire day. It would wear out my scattered, unfocused energy and help me approach everything else with more clarity. I felt grounded, yet adventurous, stable, yet free. Running became the first place I intentionally started shifting the talk within my head from, "Why can't I just start? What's wrong with me?" to saying, Ryan, it's okay. You're doing your best. Refocus. Try again. You don't need to be perfect to make progress. Looking back now with this new understanding, I see how those early morning running routines, the ritual, the repetition, the solitude, acted as natural structures that helped me manage symptoms I didn't even know I had. The daily rhythm, the meditative foot strikes, the ability to hyper-focus on a single point while remaining aware of my surroundings. It was all perfectly designed for my ADHD brain. Understanding ADHD has helped me realize why running works so perfectly for my brain. My therapist and I have spent 2 years identifying these patterns. And while I haven't been formally diagnosed, the pieces fit together in ways that finally make sense of my entire life. ADHD isn't really an attention deficit. It's more like selective attention with a dopamine deficiency. I'm still continuing my own research journey, my own journey to gain the knowledge and the language to speak about it. I've come to understand there are 7 different types of ADHD, but they all trace back to the same neurochemical reality. Our brains are naturally low on dopamine and neuroepinephrine, the chemicals that control attention and motivation. We're not broken. We're just wired to crave stimulation in ways that help us focus. This is why my mind finds the perfect stimulation level in running. Each foot strike sends signals through my nervous system, creating exactly the neurochemical condition my brain needs for sustained attention. It's like my body becomes a natural stimulant, producing the focus that other brains generate more easily. And the rhythm, it's everything. Whether I'm on a treadmill, pavement, or the trail, those repetitive foot strikes create a meditative state that rocks me into focus. It's not just physical, it's neurological. The consistent sensory input gives my ADHD brain something to lock onto while freeing up my mental capacity for that beautiful hyperfocus state. I remember during the Caballo Blanco ultramarathon, hitting this extended hyperfocus that felt like an Alice in Wonderland moment. The trees seemed brighter, the sunrise more vibrant, every sound in nature sharp and distinct. I was simultaneously locked into my goal of reaching the finish line while being hyper aware of the world around me. It was like having tunnel vision and panoramic vision at the same time, completely alive, entirely present. This is where the ADHD advantage becomes clear. While somebody without ADHD might get bored during an hour on the treadmill, my brain finds that repetitive stimulation fascinating. I can pick a point out the window and focus on it while everything else falls to the wayside. But here's the paradox. I'm not losing awareness. I'm actually becoming more aware of everything around me. And the science backs this up. ADHD brains show heightened connectivity between the processing centers that regulate learning, movement, reward, and emotion. When I'm running, all these symptoms are firing together perfectly. The movement activates reward pathways. The rhythm regulates emotion. And suddenly my scattered thoughts organize into a powerful laser focus. It's the strangest thing. I can find it difficult to focus on simple paperwork for 15 minutes, but I can run for 8, 10, 12 hours in a complete flow state. The more complex and demanding the physical challenge, the clearer my mind becomes. It's like my brain needs that level of stimulation to function at its peak. This explains why I'm drawn to ultra distances. A 5K truly doesn't provide enough stimulation to trigger that hyper-focused state, but a 50 or a 100-mile run? That gives my ADHD brain exactly what it craves. Sustained challenge, constant novelty in the landscape, and the perfect level of physical stimulation to maintain mental clarity for hours. The foot strikes become my meditation. Each step is like a gentle reset button for my scattered thoughts. Left foot, right foot, breathe, focus forward. The rhythm creates a trance-like state where time becomes fluid and my usual mental chatter quiets into a purposeful attention. What's fascinating is how this transfers beyond running. After a good long run, I can tackle complex projects with the same hyperfocus I experience on the trail. It's like the movement primes my neurochemical system for sustained attention in other areas of my life. Beginning to understand the science has been liberating. I'm not fighting against my brain anymore. I did that for so long. I'm now working with its unique wiring. My need for stimulation isn't a weakness. It's the key to unlocking focus most people can't sustain. When I frame it this way, ADHD stops being a limitation and becomes exactly what it's always been for me. A superpower waiting to be understood and channeled. Knowing why running works for my brain is one thing. Actually getting out the door consistently is another. The gap between intention and action has always been my biggest struggle. So I've had to build foolproof systems that work with my wiring, not against it. My daily running framework starts with what I call my morning checklist. Before my brain can start overthinking or getting distracted by emails, projects, or social media, I need everything laid out and ready. In the past, there's been a steady stream of coffee through my system most mornings. Now, I see 1 cup of coffee is enough. That caffeine acts as a natural stimulant for my dopamine deficient brain. Too much though, and my brain starts getting scattered and ahead of myself. I take an all-natural ginseng gummy for additional focus support, salt pills to prevent cramping, electrolytes, and water. My earbuds and phone loaded with trance and progressive house music. A headband, comfortable socks, and of course, my favorite running shoes. This all might sound excessive, but here's what I've learned. The ADHD brain gets overwhelmed by too many decisions in the moment. By preparing everything the night before, I eliminate decision fatigue. When I wake up, there's no thinking required, just execution. The ritual itself becomes a trigger that signals to my brain, hey, we're doing this. The hardest part, it's always getting started. My brain will find 1,000 reasons to delay. Check one more email. Organize that drawer. Suddenly remember an urgent task that's been sitting undone for weeks. But I've learned to recognize this as task paralysis. It's the ADHD way of avoiding something that feels overwhelming, even when it's something I love. So I talk myself through those first steps out loud. Okay, Ryan, coffee's done. Gear's ready, just put those shoes on. Now walk out the door. Step outside. I know, it sounds ridiculous, but breaking the start into micro steps bypasses paralysis. Once I'm moving, the momentum carries me forward. If I've learned one thing during this journey, it's that momentum is a powerful force. Do small steps to create it, let it build, and then flow with it as much as possible. For ultra distance preparation, I scale this same framework up. Everything from the daily checklist, plus a small running backpack with additional calories.
I have my shoes on, coffee in hand, bib on, packed, and I'm ready to go.
I pack a blend of solid nutrients like nuts and jerky, alongside my superfoods for immediate energy boosts. Sour Patch Kids, a few gummy worms, and lemon cherry infused Twizzlers. Cheap junk calories, but treats that I joke are my Super Mario mushrooms because they quickly kick in short bursts of energy. The high quality calories, plus my treats, provide quick dopamine hits when my focus starts to waver. But the real breakthrough for ultra distances came when I learned to break overwhelming goals into manageable chapters. A 100-mile run isn't one massive task. It's 8 to 10-mile segments, each one a chapter in a longer story. This approach works perfectly with the ADHD brain because it provides constant milestone rewards while preventing that overwhelming feeling that can lead to shutdown. Each chapter has its own micro goal and celebration. Mile 10, first chapter complete, time for fuel. Mile 20, quarter done, check the scenery, adjust pace. Mile 40, almost halfway. This is where the real adventure begins. With each milestone checked off, my brain gets that dopamine hit of accomplishment, building on momentum that carries me to the ultimate finish line.
10 miles left, 5 miles, so it's the next checkpoint. Apparently it's 45 degrees, so the name of the game is just keep moving, nice and steady.
The chapter system also helps with the emotional volatility that comes with ADHD. Ultra running is an emotional roller coaster even for neurotypical brains, but ADHD amplifies the swings. When I hit a low point, and I always do, I don't have to think about the remaining 60 miles. I just have to get through this chapter, this 8-mile segment. It's what makes the impossible feel manageable. I've learned to build flexibility into the framework too. Some days, my brain craves structure and detailed planning. Other days, rigid planning feels suffocating and I need to adapt on the fly. The key is having systems that can bend without breaking. Creating these habits has been life-changing and an ever-evolving process. When something becomes habitual, it bypasses the ADHD struggle entirely. I just have to do it. Training at the same time every day, drinking water before coffee, foam rolling while watching TV. These automatic behaviors support my running without requiring decision-making energy. The most important framework isn't physical, it's mental. I've had to learn to give myself grace when systems fail, when I miss runs, when the chaos breaks through despite my best structures. Progress isn't linear, especially with ADHD. Some days I nail every element of my routine. Other days, I barely get out the door. Both are okay. It's easy to think the framework should be about perfection. But no, it's about creating enough structure to let Superpower shine through consistently. Those first couple weeks after recognizing my ADHD symptoms, they were rough. I was down on myself asking questions like, what do normal people feel like? There was this underlying shame, this sense that I was somehow broken or deficient. I spent my whole life thinking I was just quirky, energetic, and maybe a little rebellious in my own way. Suddenly I had a label for all those struggles. All those moments of feeling different. But then I started shifting the questions. Instead of what do normal people feel like, I began asking, how can I use this to my advantage? That reframe, it changed everything. Because here's what I discovered. The same brain that struggles to focus on mundane tasks can hyper-focus on challenges that others find impossible. The same relentless energy that makes me walk away from boring jobs makes me want to seek adventures that push the boundaries of what's possible. The same need for stimulation that makes paperwork feel overwhelming makes 100-mile runs feel like the perfect level of engagement. My ADHD gives me unique advantages as an ultra runner. I can entertain myself for hours on remote trails, singing songs, talking to myself, getting lost in existential thoughts while staying locked onto my physical goals. Everything becomes more vibrant during these runs. The whole world takes on an extra glow. I see things in a unique, special way that keeps me engaged when others might get bored. The hyperfocus that used to trap me at my computer for days now serves me perfectly during long-distance runs. I can break down overwhelming challenges into manageable chapters, building momentum through micro-victories that carry me to finish lines others will never even try to attempt. My brain rarely gets bored in nature. There's always something to marvel at, always something that keeps me looking forward. More importantly, I've learned that novelty seeking isn't a weakness. It's what drives me towards experiences that expand what's possible. While others might be satisfied with familiar routines, my ADHD brain craves the unknown, the challenging, the transformative. That's why I'm planning 3 solo runs of 200 miles plus across remote countries in the year ahead. On one hand, these are athletic goals, but they're more than that. They're expressions of how my brain is wired to seek and conquer the extraordinary. The real superpower isn't the ability to run long distances. It's the resilience that comes from learning to work with the brain we've been gifted instead of against it. It's the creativity from thinking differently. It's the empathy that develops from struggling and finding our own paths. It's the courage to stand out and say, this is me. This is what I can do. What I once saw as limitations, the scattered thoughts, the need for constant stimulation, the difficulty with conventional tasks, are actually the foundation of capabilities that others don't possess. My ADHD isn't something to overcome. It's something to celebrate, channel, and use to create adventures that make life extraordinary. If you're watching this and recognizing yourself in my story, know that we're in this together. Your unique wiring isn't an abnormality. It's what makes you special, what gives you capabilities others don't have. Lean into what makes you different. Find your movement practice that creates focus and flow. Use your struggles as superpowers, because when we all embrace our unique traits, the world becomes a much more interesting, a much more joyful place to be. I'd love it if you reached out and left a comment down below if any of this aligns with your journey. What structures have you put into place to help manage your brain's unique wiring? Where do you find your superpower? Let me know. This is a community, a family, and we can all learn from one another. For more videos on exploring the intersection of mind, body, and spirit through running, for more travel and adventure, health and wellness, and even some men's style suggestions, I invite you to check out the Luxury of Adventure Premium Club on runwithryan.org. As a member, you get access to all my videos first. It's a great way to show your support for the channel. Thank you. Or consider subscribing here on YouTube. Tap that button down below and give the video a like. It's the best way to let the algorithm know you think this is quality content, and it will continue to share it to like-minded people. Friends, remember, we have a superpower. It's our duty, our job, not to shy away from it, but to embrace it, work with it, and use it to do all those things other people can't. It's what makes us unique, sets us apart, and in that, there's magic. Let's go. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you back here very soon.